others. And in fact,
My father got beat up repeatedly because he killed God.
yes, exactly. And this is exactly what happened on every Easter when you go to the churches here. In majority of the churches, you basically relive that kind of hatred. You relive that. So, even though many would say that theologically Jews and Christians are the one who founded the Western civilization, but to be honest with you, if you are not looking at the issue from a political perspective, you'd see there is nothing in common in one denies the Messiah, one accepts him as Messiah. One describes the other as the killer of the Messiah, one basically takes him as the Messiah. So what is the commonality there? When the basic creed is different on that kind. So we have problem with that. And this has been happening throughout the century. With Muslims, the issue is primarily more focused on the Palestinian problem. And what basically I feel in that respect, both Jews and Muslims have not lived up to the moral values that they claim that they are upholding. Yeah, I mean, first, this is the dilemma. This is the dilemma. The dilemma is that both of them have crossed their humanity and the boundaries of their humanity. Basically, refusing the acknowledgement of others' humanity. Both of them. And one cannot, say that these are the ones who basically are responsible and the others is not. The Palestinians are as much guilty of creating a mess in that as the Israelis are. The religious leadership of both the communities is fanning hatred. You see, the political leadership is basically thriving on that hatred, and it doesn't matter to them how the ordinary people live their life or lead their life. So that is one of the dilemma that we have.
So how can we, as the world society, the United States, the European Union, the United Nations, the various Muslim organizations like the Arab League and whatever, how can we, as the world society, diminish that?
I mean, first of all, if you expect that happening in Palestine and Israel, in Pakistan, or in Vatican, or in Saudi Arabia, it's not going to happen. Be assured. These are the societies that are basically are the prisoners of their own history. If there is a possibility of any change, it is in this country, the United States. Okay. Because for the first time in our human history, people belonging to different religions and different ethnicities and different cultures have come to live under a secular law, not under a religious law, which is a very important thing, because until now, when Jews lived in Germany, it was always driven by the religious fervors. When they lived in the Middle East, it was again a society that was dominated by religious values. The United States is the only place in the world where people can live with their full religious freedom without infringing on the rights of the other people. This gives us an opportunity. This gives us an opportunity to explore each other's humanity in a realistic terms. That gives us an opportunity to rise above our own hatred. This gives us an opportunity to appreciate the beauty of other religions. And that is what the Interfaith Council is all about, or interfaith activities are all about. That is it possible that we can all come together to focus on the humanity? Because if our belief is that God is the creator of all, then God is the creator of a non-Jew and a non-Islamic and a non-Christian person as well. And if he is created by God, then who are we to take the life of someone whom the life was given by God? So the interfaith offers that kind of opportunity to all of us to explore the humanity of each other. To understand.
Is there anything like that anywhere other than this country?
No.
Even in Europe, which now is mixing?
No.
England, Germany, nothing like that's going on.
No. I mean, even though, Europe seems to claim that it has a tradition of democracy and it has a tradition of secularism as a result of this. So what basically is happening is that Europe seems to be much more racist than any other place in the world. A Frenchman first, and he would never compromise with the British, never compromise with the German, or will never compromise with anyone, not on the basis of anything else other than their own race. And of course, if this is the attitude towards the white people, then the attitude towards the Asians and the Africans and the South Americans is easily understood. So, the United States is the only place where this opportunity is there. Now, if we use that opportunity wisely, then certainly we can create a model not only for our country but for the rest of the world. It is possible that people of all faith can live together in a culture and an environment of coexistence and accommodation. But if we fail here, then we don't see any hope coming from anywhere in the world. For almost 5,000 years, humanity has been duped to believe that a Messiah is going to come, who would relieve us of all the troubles that we have.
Seems unrealistic.
Whether it is Christianity, it is Islam, it is Judaism, it is Hinduism, it is Zoroastrianism, it is Buddhism, every religion has some
the Egyptians had something like that.
Some notion of someone coming sometime to do what? To tell us that we have to live in peace? We know that we have to live in peace. To tell us that we should submit ourselves to certain higher standards? We know that we have to do us what? So I think that notion is basically a notion of the weak people, of the people who were politically oppressed, who had no hope of changing their conditions. And it is in that particular context that we have to look at the reality that we are our own messiahs. We are the one we have been waiting for, no one else. On the basis of what? Now this is where basically we have to basically understand. And I think this is where the opportunity in the United States is greater than anywhere else. We have two sources of knowledge. One that is given to us by a higher authority that we call revelation, or that we call in Arabic wahi, or that we call the divine guidance. And one that we acquire on the basis of our own experience and our own journey through the history. In that journey we make mistakes. We sometimes find the right answers, sometimes find the wrong answers. But ultimately it's we who basically decide and determine what is good for us. The other model is when the divine gives us guidance and tells us that based on the nature that I have created you with, here is what I think is better for you as a human beings in this life and the life hereafter as well, if you believe in that. And if you would follow that, you would basically be living in a state of happiness and peacefulness. What has unfortunately happened is that human beings, including the religious hierarchies and authorities, have accepted the first viewpoint that we are the one who will decide what our interests are. We are the one who will decide what guidance we need. We are the one who will decide how we should lead our life regardless of what the divine says. We would use the divine guidance only when it suits our interests. And that has been the history of humanity. Unless we basically develop an understanding of the divine guidance in the true sense of the term. Because I don't believe that the God would ever confuse human beings by giving a different message to Jews and a different message to Christians and a different message to Hindus.
So why are the messages so distinct?
The messages are not distinct. What basically has happened is the messages have essentially been the same. We are the one who changed and twisted and edited to serve our own ethnic and our own cultural interests. The message has always been revolving around 5 fundamentals. And
please expound on them.
The 5 fundamentals are that everything that exists in this universe exists on the basis of certain laws that the divine created. the universe, the earth, the moon, the sun, everything that exists on the basis of laws.
You mean like conservation of mass and energy, gravity, those kinds of things?
Yeah, everything is developed and originated from God.
Okay.
He developed the laws. We discover those laws.
Okay.
Those laws have always been there. Gravity has always been there. The sun has always been rotating on its axis. We discovered it. Genes have always been there. We discovered it 150 years ago. So those laws are the laws that are implanted.
And who knows what else there is for us to discover.
Exactly. So this is one thing. So this is a reality that we must understand. That there is an order in the universe that exists. In everything that exists. Because everything has been forced to do things. The sun cannot basically, say that I'm going to
stop shining.
Yes, it is not going to happen because it follows the laws, it follows the order, it follows a balance. Human beings have been given a choice to either accept the guidance that has been given by the divine, or to follow an anarchic and a disorderly behavior. That choice is the reason for their accountability. So what basically is important to basically understand, the second principle is that human beings can bring order in their life provided they believe in the divine guidance. The third.
So let me interrupt and clarify that,
Sure.
please. So that means in order to have order in one's life, they must submit to one of the sets of divine guidance.
Divine, indeed. And then the third principle is that all human beings are one. There is no distinction and there is no discrimination against any human being on the basis
Even
of
by
their race,
gender.
even by gender, even by age, even by
Sexual
sex.
preference.
Yes. Now, what basically, I'll come to that issue in a minute. The fourth is that everyone is entitled to a dignified existence. That the dignity means that he or she should be given the full freedom to choose whatever he or she wants to choose in this life. And the fifth is that everyone has equal access to the resources that the divine created in order to live a decent and happy life. That the resources of the universe cannot be monopolized by a particular individual, by a particular ethnicity, by a particular country, in order to...
Even if those resources happen to be almost exclusively in that country.
Yeah, because...
Like, for instance, there's a precious metal in your computer that something like 85% of that's in China.
Indeed. So, the entire universe has a right to make use and to basically be helped with those kind of things. How this is left up to us, because those are the resources that we did not create. Those are the resources that was given to us by the divine, that existed in this universe, and that is free. The air is free, the water is free, the earth is free. We are the one who basically divide and who sell the land. God did not sell the land to us. It is for all human beings. So it is in that particular context, those five essential rights. Now, in terms of so what basically happens in that situation, then comes the issue of restrictions. That whether it is in matter of personal relationship, that is wedding, or sexual relationship and preferences, or whether it is in relation to the relationship with the natural resources. Even though petrol and the gas is in Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia has no right, according to the divine understanding, to monopolize it in such a manner that it alone is the one that would determine and decide how much to produce and when to produce and what to produce and what price and all those kind of things, because those resources should be made available.
So you think OPEC breaks that rule because OPEC is an economic cartel that attempts to maximize their profit potential?
Yes, the profitability is dependent on the labor, on the cost, and
scarcity.
On the scarcity as well. But the profitability is not dependent on the personal greed of those individuals and those people who basically run those kind of things. So we are talking of a different thing, and I think this is where basically this country provides us an opportunity to explore and to understand, because we tend to believe that there is only one way of economic development, and that is to capitalism. We tend to believe that there is only one way where we have private property to such an extent that the people can monopolize whatever they want to monopolize. We tend to believe that people can basically control the natural resources in order to serve their own political interests. And all these things, if we want to basically analyze these things in a postmodern world, where I think that concept of God would become much more relevant, and the concept of religion would basically disappear in that sense. The religious establishments and the religious institutions that have been controlling the minds, and that say that if you give $2 you would be saved from hellfire, that say that if you come to church and chant a few words you would be qualified for the heaven. Those notions are going to disappear, and the real understanding of God is